We learned some new differences between playing Yasuke and Naoe in Assassin's Creed Shadows and way more interesting details, so a ton to go over. A big part of the gameplay walkthrough was of course focused on Yasuke exploring Fukujiyama, where we see the reaction of the crowd. How the adults would get out of the way and bow, and the kids would just look at him in awe. Well, I learned that there's a bit more depth to this system. For one, that wink from the cinematic trailer is something Yasuke can do towards the kids in the game as well, like he's playful towards them. Generally speaking, the adults will get out of your way, but the kids there's some depth to this. There are mechanics that a player can use to create different reactions. So we can interact more with the NPCs in the environment. I think this is mostly Yasuke that has some cool interactions like that, while I'm sure that both characters can pet the different animals we see. We of course already saw the Shiba Inu and there are puppies we can encounter and pet as well. There will be cats again, but there should be even more animals that we can pet in the game. Hopefully the cute monkeys that we saw at the start of the walkthrough. But the big difference is that while playing as Naoe, no one will look at you, like they don't care. She's basically always in stealth in non-restricted areas, similar to when she hides in the shadows while infiltrating a camp. But there's more to it. Mark Alexi Cote, the producer of the whole Assassin's Creed franchise, namely told GameFile that she's unnoticeable by military NPCs while in the open world. Unless she starts doing some illegal things like swinging her sword, climbing or using the prone navigation in the street. Naoe is invisible by default for NPCs in the open world, but Yasuke is impossible to blend in unnoticed. And because of this, they decided to not have any form of social stealth for Naoe, simply because she's already hidden without doing illegal things, and because they really wanted to focus on her being the shinobi who's hiding in the shadows. But yeah, this does mean that we should not expect groups of NPCs walking around that we can blend in with to walk past guards or enter a restricted area unnoticed. And I don't know, I still think that would have been cool in Shadows as well. Only Valhalla from the RPG games had a feature like this, although I rarely used it. Even with the more prominent return in Mirage, where you could use an in-game token to have a group walk into a camp, like, it still did not have the same impact or was as useful as in the Ezio trilogy, for example. So I hope that for the next more stealth-focused Assassin's Creed, that is likely being made by the Mirage team as we speak, that they do have a proper implementation and hopefully some big improvements and new twist to this iconic social stealth feature. But yeah, social stealth never made sense for Yasuke. Like, it makes sense that he cannot blend in, but he can use stealth, and I learned some interesting new things about that and some other details as well. So let's go over them. Of course, if you like the video so far, leaving a like would really help me out, and subscribe for way more Assassin's Creed Shadows content like this. So yes, we've seen Naoe, the obvious stealth character, in action, but that does not mean Yasuke can't sneak around. Yasuke can do assassinations, but he doesn't have a hidden blade. So what he does we call brutal assassinations. He uses the weapon that he has with him, so every melee weapon he has is able to do some variant of an assassination. Okay, lots to unpack here. So for one, just like Naoe, Yasuke has a special assassination linked to every weapon he has. With Naoe, it was the assassination through the Soji door with the katana. The rush assassination is possible with the Kusarigama, and the dual assassination can be done with the Tento and hidden blade combo, like we saw in the cinematic trailer. I went more in depth on this system and how to unlock these assassinations in my previous video. I will link to that at the end of this one. We don't know if Yasuke also has special assassinations depending on the weapon he is using, or if they are just like different but similar close range brutal kills comparable to the different finishers he has with each weapon. What we at least do know is that these attacks are not completely silent. It really sounds like the slaughter ability you had in Ghost of Tsushima for targets that you could not assassinate. Jin would then instead brutally kill them, which would also cause the other enemies to immediately be alerted and focused on you. Well, looks like every assassination from Yasuke will be like this, but it gets even crazier. This is what the associate game director told me. So as an example, if someone has their back turned to you, with Yasuke being an honorable samurai, he will yell at them for them to turn around, which projects to anyone. Damn, this sounds really cool, but also makes stealth almost impossible with him because, of course, thanks to that yell, the whole camp will know that he is here. And we actually have another great example of this from Ghost of Tsushima. Like in the tutorial, Yuna is like, let's do it stealth, slit their throats and kill them without a sound. But Jin is like, that would be without honor. So he proceeds to yell at the invaders, so they turn around and they get a fair duel. Also during this prologue, you will just walk into a castle facing everyone head on, which is also how Yasuke is mostly going to play from the gameplay I saw. There will be many doors that you have to break, so you can create paths that Naue cannot access, but you mostly go from fighting against a group of enemies to fighting against another group of enemies. Maybe you can clear out a few with explosives at the start of a fight, but then you will still be fighting the leftover soldiers. Like it all seems purely focused on the combat. Like there do not seem to be a lot of options to go for the more traditional Assassin's Creed gameplay with Yasuke, as you're mostly stuck to the ground as well because you cannot access the rooftops that Naue can only reach thanks to her grapple hook. Now we do know Yasuke can prone, even though he will be slower. You can also crouch when you move, but it will still make a lot of sound, and when hiding behind cover there will be some part that sticks out so enemies can still see him. Yeah, it all does not sound very useful, but I did learn that there will be perks and stuff that you have to reduce the sound that Yasuke makes, but he's never completely silent. So maybe investing in those perks will be smart, so you can at least go up to one enemy to instantly take them out with a brutal assassination, but it really seems to be that that is where your stealth options stop, and then you have to take out the leftover enemies in combat. Let me know what you think of this playstyle in the comments down below. Now we also learned a bit more about the parkour differences between both characters. Of course, Naue excels here thanks to that grapple hook. There are some specific grapple points, but also the grapple hook seems to be able to attach to every roof corner, even mid-move, as we see right here. With L1 being the button that you have to press with a PS5 controller to zip to that rooftop. Now, of course, she also has some folding options and jumps, but it still seems that she cannot climb everything though. Like in the previous RPG games, you could easily climb every large mountain you would see, but Naue can only climb vertical surfaces that look climbable. So that probably means that she cannot climb every mountain, only when there's a visual cue telling you it's possible. Now Yasuke can do even less. He can climb up trees that have a proper inclination, but he's not meant to run on rooftops. So probably similar to the tree parkour that we saw in the RPG games, but is that really all he can do? I would be shocked if he cannot at least do some regular climbing to get on top of a building. It does seem to be that way though, although we do have to wait for more info. Now Stephen Totillo from GameFile did let me know that Yasuke can use a ladder as a way to get higher up, but overall his parkour will be very limited. I was, by the way, listening to the AC Shadows main theme while working on this video. It's now on Spotify. I will leave a link to it in the video description. It's also on YouTube. We'll also leave a link to that. And also the composers for the soundtrack have been revealed, with the highlight for me totally being The Flight, that was also responsible for the Odyssey soundtrack and now did the main theme and some other tracks as well. You see the other two composers right here. Overall, I'm loving what I'm hearing so far. Now in the next video I want to discuss some armor things. Can Yasuke use a hood? What about the RPG elements? Cool things you can do with the shuriken and way more. So subscribe to not miss that video and any other future AC Shadows content. A like would of course be awesome. Check my giveaway for the Ultimate Edition in the pinned comment. Be a subscriber if you want to enter, and check my previous video by clicking on the screen regarding those special assassinations and way more. I will speak to you soon. Goodbye.